Hello, my name is Sarah Reed, and this is my restoration project. Okay, so it's called Can I Hold the Umbrella? And it's about understanding women's access to the priesthood. It is under Unit 4, Restoration of the Priesthood and Founding of the Church, under the related major concept number 1, the difference between priesthood power, authority, offices, keys, and ordinances. And the type of doctrine, I said that it was supporting doctrine. I think that the priesthood itself is a core doctrine because it's necessary for the ordinances of salvation. But I think that who God permits to use it and how they use it would be supporting doctrine. The reason I wanted to do this topic is because one day in restorations class, we were learning about the priesthood and especially women in the priesthood. And then I was walking home with one of my friends who's a boy, and it was raining, and I was holding an umbrella, and we were talking about the priesthood, and I said, here, you hold the umbrella, you're the priesthood holder, like a joke, because you've all heard that metaphor where priesthood bearers hold the umbrella and everybody else, the women, get to enjoy the blessings underneath the umbrella. But then as we talked about it more, I started thinking like, well, I'm pretty sure that there's ways that women use priesthood power, but I didn't understand it very well, and I didn't want to come off as if like I was mad that I wasn't allowed to be a priesthood bearer. And so that just got me thinking about this topic. So the first scholarly article is by Barbara Morgan Gardner called Helping Female Students Rise to Their Spiritual Privileges. And honestly, this is one of the best articles I've ever read. I thought it was incredible and everyone should read it. She just had some really good insights into what kind of access women in the church have to priesthood power, priesthood authority, and the blessings and privileges of the priesthood. The second scholarly article was by Jennifer Reeder called Using Women's Voices in Teaching History and Doctrine. This one was really cool because it talked about how women during the Restoration were often nervous about preaching and teaching and just using their voices to teach the gospel. They kind of felt like it was expected that men would just do that, but then the prophet and Emma Smith, Eliza R. Snow, people were saying, we need to hear women's voices. Women have a great part to play. And then this article also goes on to express how women today need to express their voices. We need to teach and preach and exhort and use priesthood power to do what God needs us to do. The first prophetic talk is by Russell M. Nelson called Spiritual Treasures. And the quote is, the heavens are just as open to women who are endowed with God's power flowing from their priesthood covenants as they are to men who bear the priesthood. I pray that this truth will register upon each of your hearts because I believe it will change your life. That's an exciting promise that understanding how women access priesthood power will change your life. The second talk is also by Russell Nelson, A Plea to My Sisters. And it goes, the kingdom of God is not and cannot be complete without women who make sacred covenants and then keep them. Women who can speak with the power and authority of God. It goes back to that article I was just talking about where the church, the work of God, needs women who speak up with the power and the authority of God. We need women who are devoted to shepherding God's children along the covenant path toward exaltation, women who know how to receive personal revelation, who understand the power and peace of the temple endowment, women who know how to call upon the powers of heaven to protect and strengthen children and families, women who teach fearlessly. I think those are a couple of ways specifically that women can use priesthood power. The two D&C sections are D&C 25:7. This is the one written to Emma Smith. Thou shalt be ordained under his hand to expound scriptures and to exhort the church according as it shall be given thee by my spirit. In this context, the word ordained also means set apart, such as a woman who's set apart for a calling. And I just love how Emma Smith and the women of the church, God expects us to expound scriptures, to exhort the church, to receive revelation through the Spirit, not just to be supporters of men doing these things through the priesthood being defined as the power of God. And then D&C 84, 33 through 44, this is the oath and covenant of the priesthood, or part of it. And he that receiveth my Father receiveth my Father's kingdom. Therefore all that my Father hath shall be given unto him. And this is according to the oath and covenant which belongeth to the priesthood. I used to think that sections like this were just directed to men, but in Sister Gardner's article, she talked specifically about this section and how women need to realize that this promise, all that my Father hath shall be given to him, that is a promise to endowed women also. And that is awesome. A quote from the Joseph Smith papers is Emma Smith saying, "We are going to do something extraordinary." I think that's exciting, not just the Relief Society will do something extraordinary, but just understanding that God expects women in his church to do extraordinary things. The two key concepts are that women are not expected to just support priesthood holders, but they have their own essential roles to fulfill by using priesthood power. And that under the direction of priesthood keys, women use priesthood authority and power to fulfill callings, receive revelation, and bless their families and others. My one key takeaway is that women need to understand and claim their priesthood power, authority, and privileges, because what God expects them to do with it is essential to their progression and the work of salvation. And I put this picture of this girl speaking in general conference because I think that is a great representation of how the prophet is saying women need to understand our role in the priesthood. And I think that as we do that, as we understand that we have an essential role in the priesthood, that we'll be able to do so much and be so much more empowered to fulfill what the Lord needs us to.